And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Top of the morning. Glad you all can make it here. Glad you have joined early, even though I'm cold, but I make that clear. Check out the NFT for today, somewhere. Um, First and foremost, let's start the day with our Mac Cafe. This is a large, hot premium roast. I got 4 creams and 4 sugars stirred inside. Repeat the new joint. Repeat the new joint. Repeat the new joint. You ain't ready. That's the new joint right here. It's commemorative. Official test start time 2 minutes. And then let that cool down into the ground. Very quickly, open up your Ghana apps. And before we even get started, let's start the day with a prayer. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for all the blessings in our lives. And thank you, Heavenly Father, for all the blessings in our lives. We worry not about what we don't have because we're in the process of getting it. And in that journey, everything that we do is in your name. Amen. Start of my day, I have a lot of tough decisions to make, which is why I brought you guys here to share this with you guys. So we have a conundrum, we have a vortex, we have a paradox, right? Um, Sunrise is in about 30 to 45 minutes. I am scheduled to open the business in 31 minutes. This is my time to go work out, exercise, etc. So I already did the first part, but I work out throughout the whole day, so I don't stop. I just do sets throughout the day, right? Now, it's mandatory for the next 72 hours that this particular business, this brick and mortar proof of concept location, is open at this time. It sends a clear message to everyone that I stand in the leadership role. Part of me understands that there is a big nothing burger for me at the end of it. I do it because it's the righteous thing to do, not because there's any type of benefit for me. And that's what integrity is. That's like doing the right thing even when nobody's paying attention or when nobody's looking at you. Just doing the right thing because um, I'm going to be departing from this business in the next few days, right? And I want to leave a standard behind, right? I've ran several marketing campaigns for the business. They've been very successful. Right now in the business, there's a power struggle dynamic. And although I don't want to engage in that power struggle, um, I still have to do my best to support both sides and both parties, right? Because whatever decisions are made are going to impact the lives of many other people. So while that is a priority box, and thank you to Miss Cardone, Miss Grant Cardone's, uh, or Grant Cardone's wife, Miss Cardone. Um, there's a lot to consider here because everything is a priority. My own personal well-being is number one priority, and emotionally, I am doing my best to disconnect from the business venture, not in the sense of negligence, but in the sense of I have other priority boxes that I have to take care of. All right. So, how do we find the balance? Because you, as an entrepreneur, may find yourself in a similar situation. What is the sweet spot? My mentality is go open the business above and beyond circumstances that I'm unable to express due to non disclosure agreements, right? Obviously, privacy, company, intellectual property, etc. Part of me is saying no I need to prioritize my own personal things. Let me maintain my focus on that and allow, from a psychological standpoint, an empty space to fill itself. What does that mean? Eventually, overall, the overall consensus is my business partners have to figure it out because I need to start traveling and I'm not going to be here. And because of that, right? And on top of the fact that I don't like to be tied down to any investment, including this one right here. I like to be able to be virtuous, right? To move up and down. So where is the fine line, right? Like where is the medium? Do I go in a moderation, go handle my own personal things, and then go support the business? Or do I just postpone my things until, the following 72 hours and attend to the business which is in desperate need? I think the answer is very clear. Do I like the fact that that is probably the best decision to make? I do not like that because I'm sacrificing myself for the greater good of the collective and the business, but not just emotionally, physically, or psychologically, but spiritually. So it's coming at an expense to me. So then you ask yourself, okay, so is it worth the juice? Is the squeeze worth the juice? That's up for debate. Maybe it's a 50-50, maybe it's a 60-40, leaning towards it may be better financially for me to do that. So about a 10% margin. 5 to 10% is not something that could drive a person enough to get up out of bed. I was watching an episode of Shark Tank, and there was like $100 million valuation, and they offered Kevin O'Leary 5%. He said for 5-10%, we don't even get up out of bed, and it's understandable. The average investor, they're looking for like, I want to say about 20%, 15 to 20%, give and take, depending on the magnitude. Obviously, bigger business might be a smaller margin. I'm facing similar challenges in my own other personal businesses and investments. So this is why it has struck a chord. It has hit a nerve. Like, wait a minute, I'm facing similar challenges in a whole different investment, a whole different portfolio. I'm managing that very well. Why am I prioritizing this? And then I understand it's the collective, it's the people. I want the people to be successful in all of my investments, right? And I think that that is the key to my success. It's the hardest part of management for me. Not that it's hard for me to manage the people, but I think it's the most challenging. It takes the biggest toll emotionally on myself. So again, where is the balance? Because I'm looking for that neutral standpoint. If I do not prioritize this proof of concept location, I'm setting a bad example and it will spiral out of control. There's a 99.99% chance. If I'm able to be successful, which of course I know that I am, um, to establish certain boundaries and guidelines, it will be better long term, which puts into play the fourth quarter, meaning the ending of this month, the remaining of November, the remaining of December, because this is what's happening. In the economy, we have a lockout, right? Like the NBA had a lockout, the NFL had a lockout, right? And there's certain rules and parameters, right? And what happens in business is that these months are the heaviest, most action-packed months, right? For commerce, right? This is where you build the brands in moments like this because you have a plethora of people patronizing your business. If the next few weeks don't go as planned, I'm going to be locked in for the next few months because now when I think about investments, I have to think beyond November and beyond the scope of January, which is the downtime. Everything's not going to pick back up till around spring break, income tax season. So if you can look from now, if you can look at the market, you see this paradox in this particular time and space, and then you see a small break, and then you see another one coming. That lets you know where you are in the economy, because the question becomes not the two segments of business that are coming. The question becomes, what are the two spaces in between, which is this break right now in the next few weeks, and then the next 3 to 4 weeks of most likely January. Because after January, things won't really pick back up till around the week of the 21st to the 28th. So, as an entrepreneur, you need to be already in the future. You have to think about April as taxes. We just paid taxes. We're going to pay taxes again. That's the difference when you're a self proprietor, you're a 1099, or you own your own business, because that's your responsibility. Corporate is not going to say, yo, taxes need to be paid. You need to write the check. You need to call the IRS. You need to balance your QuickBooks. You need to have everything on point, because if not, it's going to damage your 5 year, 10 year, 15, 20, 25 year game plan. Because what's the point of building credit and lines of credit if you're not going to use them to build more lines of credit and more investments and more opportunities? That's the ladder right there. So all these things that lead to the quantum growth start here at this minuscule level, which is where we are. So it's not just what's the meaning, right? It's what am I becoming here? What am I learning from this experience? How is this going to contribute to that quantum growth? Because I'm negotiating some major business. At the same time, I have to be humble and accept the fact that I have to deal with these other things as part of the process. Not before, not during, not after. It's just part of the process. It's like paying taxes, it's a business expense. So, how can I make the best decision considering all these people's feelings, thoughts, and emotions based on their cultures, their background, their religious beliefs, their perspectives on life, where they are in life, without hurting their feelings, without stepping on anybody's toes, um, taking care of myself in the process, right? And my outlook, what I'm here to do, and things that I have going beyond, and make the best decision that coagulates with the collective, where nobody feels like they're left out, where nobody feels like they're not a priority, where nobody feels like they're invisible, because my business partners always come to me for advice. They say that I can handle many projects, and that is a sweet science, a sweet art that most entrepreneurs are not able to do. So today I find myself, based on certain data inputs, I've been following the market since probably 2, 3 in the morning. And there was a situation with the internet, so I couldn't connect. I had to go from one platform to the next. In between, I'm taking breaks. I'm planning my schedule. My schedule's thrown off, but then I counter strike, and I actually beat all of my alarm clocks by probably 20 minutes. So I turned the negative into a positive, which is why we have this extra allocated time to make these decisions. Now, there's a few meetings that I missed. Shout out to you, V, which I'm going to send you this. We need to reschedule this weekend. It's going to be crazy. Shout out to you, Mr. Jo. I think we can reconvene by Wednesday next week. This week has been tough, and the weather is not helping. Again, these are unknown variables. There was no way we could have anticipated for the weather. The weather was supposed to be cleared by Wednesday, and I was able to get on my jets yesterday, and I don't want to fly for the next few days because of the weather. So just to give you an example, these are things that nobody foresaw, we didn't plan for. I just had to overcompensate. And there were things that I had to do, like there were some donations to charities that I had to make, and I actually made them early this week because I knew I wasn't going to have time. So notice another thing too. My workout regime is even harder now. I'm escalating, right? I've reached my goal, now there's a new goal. And because of that, as tempted as I am to eat something, I cannot. Um, Wednesday was supposed to be the last day that I drank coffee. And as you can see, I'm drinking coffee. So I'm overcompensating, not eating to have a cup of coffee because I know that today is going to be one of those days. So I find myself in the same situation. If I go and integrate into the proof of concept location and it hurts me as far as, let's say, my goals with my fitness and my overall health, I have no one to blame but myself because right now I have the power to make a decision. Even though I understand the dynamic that there is a new collective of people integrating into the company, and I must lead by example. There are already red flags finding a way to sprout like little mushroom clouds, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, this is not clear skies how it's supposed to be. Yet I have no dog in that fight. What am I proving to this person? What am I proving to the collective? Is it better for the business for me to just remain neutral? Probably not. Is it better for me to just lead by example and let these people pick up the pieces as they can? Probably so. How do I feel about it? Doesn't matter. Because in business, there's no room for my emotions. I need to act rational. I need to be concrete in my vision and my decision. And it's all about execution. It's all about action. Everybody can talk a good game. So the executive decision has to be to prioritize what the business needs will be for today and utilize this moment not as a segment of confusion, but as a segment of highlighting what the directive is. There are goals that I need to accomplish in the next few days, in the next few weeks, that require for me to plant these seeds today so that I can harvest them in a few weeks. In a few weeks, whatever situation is out of control is going to be worse. It's only going to spiral. There's a 99.99% chance it is going to spiral. There's plenty of data sets and data points from previous months, previous investments, where that's exactly what happened. When you plant the garden, the weeds come to devour it. And that's what's happening. I know this because there was a situation with the with some of the equipment. All of a sudden, the equipment is having some difficulties. Why is the equipment having some difficulties? Now that there's a new collective of people. So indirectly, I directly know that there's been tampering with the equipment. Meanwhile, I'm remaining cool, calm, and collected. But I had to overcompensate. This is why I gave myself an additional 15 to 20 minutes, which worked out because I winded up hiking for those few minutes that I had extra. So it worked out in the long term, but I cannot overlook the insights that I've been able to gain. This is why it's like the needle point. It's like what would be the correct term? It's like the match that lights the fuse. You know, the bomb is going to go off. It's just a matter of time, right? So, do I travel to the future and defuse the bomb, or do I defuse the bomb now? Why allow it to build up to a high pressure situation where I'm having to solve these problems, multitasking, all these things, plus all of these issues in the business? Or do I make a decision now and be able to be content? Because at the end of the day, overall, what it's really about is me prioritizing myself and the decisions that I'm making. And that's where the gray area is, what is the best decision to make? The business may need me, but I need myself. And if these people have not already learned from what I've demonstrated, there's no dog in the fight. There's no reason to continue. If you couldn't learn the first lesson, ABC 1, 2, 3, 2 plus 2 equals 4, then what's the point of me continuing? Especially dealing with these circumstances that I have to face myself. Now, there's a second option. Why don't I just give it some time, go handle a few of the things, not all of the things that I need to handle, and then return? That's a variable. But then that escalates to another challenge with those secondary collectives and groups of individuals. So now you're seeing that negativity multiply. So one circumstance, the decision is to evade, leads to a second situation, second circumstance, and now it's a mix. Do we engage or do we disengage? But now it's a second situation, which leads to the third. The third is going to happen regardless because by the time that the third collective joins the proof of concept location, I will already be there because I will have all of my things taken care of. But now, what happens the day after? What happens the day after? When we know that that is the most important goal for the next 72 hours. So sacrifice today and jeopardize the next 48 hours beyond these 24 hours, which compiles 72 hours? Or do I make a decision now? This is about making the decision right at this moment because time waits for no one. So I want to dial everything back. Let's process that. And my coffee should be at the right temperature. Let's see. Very good. Just a little buck, but it's still good. Let's give this a little swirl here. I think that helps a little. It's a little too hot, but it's okay. So, how can I advise all of you, my students, my alumni, which are also my business partners, and I learn from you guys equally? How can I share with you insights? Or how can I give you advice? How can I teach you how to make the best decision? Well, I'm always going to prioritize your well being. Short term, you may not be able to understand, but long term, it's going to make a huge difference. Now, I dislike the fact that I have to go back into my, over 600 something of these franchises, right? If I go back to that, my decision is much clearer and much easier to accomplish. I refrain from doing that because I have so many examples to pull from where similar situations happen, and in the end, none of them panned out to be what they were supposed to be. So, this establishes a timeline and establishes a countdown. If I am to make that decision to override what my previous knowledge and experience has guided me, to fully understand that this is not the best decision, right? And I go against that. I have no no person to blame, no circumstance or situation to fault, other than my own faulty decision making. because I know that I have no dog in that fight. So what is the point of sponsoring or endorsing any dog in that fight? I have no dog in that fight. It's time, very clearly, it's time to let go and move on. And the process, you may dislike it. It may take some time because it is a process, not an event. But in the end, I can almost assure you that it's probably the best decision that you could make. And it sucks. It sucks when you have to make decisions and you're like, man, I feel this way, feel that way about it. But again, it's about being pragmatic. It's about controlling your emotions. I have to be a CEO 24/7. I don't want to be a CEO 24/7, but I have to be a CEO 24/7. Okay? And that perhaps is the challenge that I have to face today because I'm still going back and forth. Gold is down $3,994 an ounce and 46 cents. But just to give you an example, just to give you an idea, right? So where do we go from here? That is the question right now. When I face myself with situations like this, I have to go back to my faith and I have to pray for a breakthrough, for God to give me an example. And it's a very powerful thing because it's like you're looking for the fairy dust, right? You're looking for the magic powder, right? Or the magic potion. You're looking for that catalyst. What's going to be that ignition point, right? Subconsciously, I know in my heart of hearts that I have no dogs in that race. What's going to happen in 72 hours is my biggest concern. And although today I may have an option to do something different, and potentially even tomorrow, actually, tomorrow I definitely can change my schedule a little bit. Sunday, I won't be able to do that. And Sunday may be too late to set the leadership role example. And then the following week, it's going to be the same thing. So if I take my foot off the accelerator now, I can't complain if the car slows down and our lap times are worse next week because I'm making the conscious decision to sacrifice those things. And if it doesn't align with my goals, then that's fine. But if it does, then it's an issue. Then I have to be affirmative. Then I have to make executive decisions like, I'm overriding this, overriding that. Let's do it. So this is the most important day, or one of the most important days of the week, which make it a priority. I think the decision has been made. So I'm going to throw in a variable. I'm going to wait until sunrise. And at sunrise, although it's perhaps later than what I anticipated, um, I'm going to go and open the business. Let me check right now what time was sunrise will be. All right. Sunrise has been delayed, so that makes sense too because, like I said, there was a weather pattern, um, kind of like a reform, like the leftovers from that, tropical storm that we had a few days ago. So that may be a balance. That may be a balance. Also, the universe, just in the same way we prayed for, the universe kind of granted us this in between. You know, how will it be? I have no idea, but I know from a military combat standpoint that perception is reality, right? So I'm going towards it. In fact, I look forward to the awkward moments and the awkward exchanges in order to reach the goal. Because in the past, I may have just walked away because I didn't want to exchange the emotional energy, right? I know now today that that is not potentially the best decision, decision making, or approach, or execution, or processing of the situation. You may find yourself in a situation like that. And even though I want to exclude myself, I have to analyze it from a neutral standpoint and say, what advice would I give myself? The first thing I would say is prioritize myself, go handle my things, and just allow an empty space to fulfill itself. Really and truly, in reality, all it's doing is providing a much elevated, higher stakes uh, challenge for myself to overcome. Because now, knowing all of this, being fully aware, fully conscious, right, I have to overcompensate for all these things. So the challenge now becomes a personal challenge, which is what we call that to the dragon. The dragon is within. So if it's challenging now, and we know for a fact it's going to be more challenging, I welcome the challenge. I'm not walking away from the challenge. I look forward to it. I want to see what's going to happen because the only way I'm going to know is to have boots on the ground. The only way I'm going to know is if I can be that iceberg, is to pierce the Titanic. I had a conversation with one of my business partners yesterday, and I said, "Do you see the water flowing? Because there's water coming on board. Do you not see it?" This person agreed. Yeah, I see it. I said, "Well, look all around you. I'm not going down with the ship." That's a decision I made a very long time ago because it is not my ship. That's not the only reason, because I'm not willing to sacrifice myself for nothing. I have to have the same conviction to pour this energy into my own investments. And that's what I need to do. I've had to kind of like run a hybrid system, right? Where I'm dealing with this investment, but then I'm dealing with so many others. But I'm not emotionally attached to any other investment. In this one, I am. So I'm already auto analyzing and auto correcting myself because I know that that's not the righteous path. It's okay to have connected with this collective of people and have given them my advice and my insight. It is not okay for me to be a sacrificial lamb for one. Overall, I can guarantee you 99.98% of this collective is not losing sleep over these decisions, nor is it their concern. They may like the idea, they may act as if it is their priority and it is their concern, but the reality of it is, the meat and potatoes of it is that it's not. Hence, why it's a re-strengthened decision on my part to say, you know what, I have no dog in the fight. So why am I forcing a triangle into a square peg? It's not a triangle. It may fit on one side, but it may slide, it may fall, it may be inaccurate. Look at the data points. You already see resistance. The resistance is figuring out a way to kind of penetrate, infiltrate the defense systems, but the defense systems are way too advanced. Our technology is just, we're a trillion years ahead of the competition. So we understand not only the presence, of clear and present danger, right? But the length of what they're willing to do to reach their goals. And life has this funny way of balancing the checkbooks. Just a few months ago, everything was different. There were other investments, there were other businesses, some recently just sold, and everyone had a elevated sense of ego or pride, which is a nothing burger in reality, right? Now reality has hit. So what do you do now? How do you move forward? There are people that I fired a few weeks ago that are trying their best to return, but the money train has sailed already. The ship is already in the sky. That plane has already landed, meaning sometimes God will give you certain opportunities and you have to be very careful how you manage them because you may never get them again. And you can be hopeful, you can be grateful, you can be humbled, you can learn your lesson and pray, God, just give me one more chance. There's only so many times that that's going to happen. Eventually, you're going to have to grow. Life is going to ask you to grow a certain amount, over a certain amount, period of time, you know? So just the fact that I have to give all this energy to this situation lets me know and triggers the warning system. Like, you know what? I have no dog in the fight. It's pointless. You have to allow an empty space to fill itself. Another one of my business partners, we had a few arguments throughout the last few weeks, last few months. Called me yesterday. Called me yesterday on FaceTime. Strike one. Called me after a dispute. Strike two. You're not allowing the situation, the professional 72 hours that you're going to need to process as much of a conviction that you can have to say, oh, but wait, let's discuss this, let's discuss that. No, 72 hours. We'll talk next week. From a religious standpoint, I can't do business till Monday morning. Sabbatical started last night, which is a factor, which really keeps me grounded and keeps me guided. Like, you know what? I need to disengage. I don't want to carry on the next 72 hours when I'm supposed to be closer to God and praying to God and dedicating that time to God to think about the business. I don't have time for it. God is first. And it hurts to say that. It sucks to think about it. It sucks to go through it. But it is a priority for a reason. Because I guarantee you the insight that I'm going to have next week is going to be way more advanced and way more elevated than it is right now. I'm in the middle of the situation. I'm in the middle of the storm. I'm feeling the infliction of the wounds. Also understanding that nobody else is going through the same thing. Nobody else is going through the same thing. When speaking to one of my business partners yesterday, before we did the breakdown of what the data points are, I said this business needs full marketing. And I don't mean marketing that we can do because we have our own marketing division for everything that we do. But we are not in the business of just doing that. We need to delegate this power to a company that their 9 to 5, their cup of coffee in the morning is marketing. It's okay to delegate the power and trust that these people are going to do what they do every single day. Even at their lowest capacity, they're going to be way higher in propensity than we will ever be because that's not what we do. We're a technology company. We're good on technology. Pay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, right? I made the donation I had to make to charities yesterday, got it out the way. I didn't even think about it. Done. Your business needs promotion, publicity, marketing. It needs awareness. It needs exposure. It needs clarity, whatever. Let's delegate that to a professional firm that does that 24/7. Or make the investment to develop a new branch in the company. Full commitment. Not we're just going to throw stuff in the air, see what sticks. That's my conclusion. That's my prognosis. That's my diagnosis of the business. That's the pulse that I feel in the business. And it took perhaps 10, 15 minutes for this person to understand and agree. That's when I bring up the example of, do you not see the water flowing in the hole? There's water coming on board. And Titanic is not a ship that you want to repair. You want to build a new one. You don't want to patch things up. For the last 3 to 4 years, this business, they've been patching it up every quarter, every few months, every few weeks. It hasn't worked, and it's not going to work. And if you want to know the trajectory, right? If you look at the last 4 years of this investment, the next 4 years are going to be exactly identical. They're going to be the same if the same decisions are made, if the same processes are uh, repeated. And statistically, the same group of people under slightly different circumstances are probably going to go back to their default programming and they're going to make the same decision. So, where do I stand in all of this? I have no dog in this fight. Everything that I used as far as like an advantage, right, in my life and business, every person does not have. Every person is not going to go seek the higher education to understand. And you know, it's funny too. You may find yourself in a situation where after you get a higher education, people want to pull you down and just simplify it. It could be something as simple as saying a few $1,000s or a few $100s. When you truly know the value of things, not the price of things, the value of things, you understand how powerful it can be to help you build your dreams or stop you from achieving your goals. If you achieve all of your goals, you'll reach your dreams. And again, most people are not conscious or aware enough to make these kind of decisions, to make these kind of investments. It could be buying a book. You know, my books are over $100. There's many books that are $1. There's many books that are 5, 10, 25, $40. What makes my book different? Some people will make the investment to buy 5 books, 7 books. You know what 7 books can do for your life? Imagine over the course of the next 7 weeks. And we're talking about, you know, uh, Choose Your Opponents Wisely, Principles by Ray Dalio. Um, I can just start you with those two. Those 2 books will unlock so many potential opportunities for yourself, for your business, for your future, for your present. Um, Things that you want to correct or change or amplify or modify from the past. Maybe you made an investment in a commercial building. It should have been a retail property. It should have been a residential property. Maybe you should have purchased the shopping center instead. You still have an opportunity to change those things, but you have to make that investment in yourself. I cannot always say, yo, let's go to this master class. Yo, there's a business convention. Or I cannot be the only person that goes by myself. If I'm representing a conscious collective where we have a shared commonality of goals and aspirations and dreams, this is what makes my journey completely different because I've already went through this. This is not my first retirement, and it will not be my last, especially now that my granddaughter is the owner of the company. I'm not the owner of the company anymore. My granddaughter is. So now there's a heightened level of awareness and, in a sense, a priority of keeping the business running smooth. And this is why we need to talk about this. As a matter of fact, one of the business meetings that I had yesterday, I disclosed that. I said, listen, you know, this baby is growing every day. The time to plant the seeds is now. I had another conversation with a family member. Same conversation. Yo, the time to build is now. Now that times are challenging, now that times are rough, this is the time to build. I had a conversation with a gentleman yesterday, and we were talking about the economy. I was listening for the most part, and I said, you know what? As I see it, there's a little storm right now brewing. After this, we'll have a little break, and then things will pick back up. That doesn't just apply to life. That doesn't just apply to business. It applies to technology. It applies to everything. What are you going to do about it? Ray Dalio tells you if you're in your 40s and 50s, do this. He literally, there's lectures where he's literally telling you step one. You look at marketing, right? You look at a person like Gary Vaynerchuk, and shout out to VaynerMedia, my business partners as well, and one of my mentors. There's only so much that you can do. Eventually, you're going to have to go to a VaynerMedia. You're going to have to go to a Valuetainment Consulting. You're going to have to look at the deal they just worked out with Manect and Tony Robbins. We just formed a Triforce. Both Tony Robbins and Patrick Bet-David are in my books. And we are all business partners in Manect. Nobody has advanced Manect more than me. Nobody has utilized Manect for what I've utilized it for. And now that technology is proprietary. So I want in more than what I already have. I'm one of the world's biggest investors in Matic and Polygon. I own that whole thing. That's one of my universes. That's a small example. Manect is a small part of that. So you have Patrick Bet-David, you have Tony Robbins, and you have Venom R1. Triforce, baby. How do we move forward? Now that's the challenge because now the stakes are over here. So why am I not giving everything to this and I'm worried about this? I have no dog in that race. And that's the reason why. This is where the breakthrough comes in. There's 8 minutes until complete sunrise, according to GPS. There's an 8 minute countdown. I either go in one direction and go to the yacht club, or I go in another direction and go put the business on the titty of success. Yacht club, headache. Long term, if I go and deal with the headache, just because I'm able to, right? For at least today and tomorrow. What happened Sunday? All that pressure built up for that day. the last 24 hours of the 72-hour time slot that we've been allotted. Meanwhile, the markets are rallying right now because of the close of the week. So, all investors at my level of investment are already thinking ahead. Miss Cardone shared with me, taught me how to break down the priority list that we make every day into different columns. Gave me this insight to understand what classism is. Shout out to my wife Sam as well. Samantha was basically giving a lecture about what a certain elite league is. Like 1% is clearly defined. And it was intriguing for my wife to say that in her keynote speech because it was intimidating from a male perspective, but it was magnetic at the same time because I said, you know what? I got a good woman on my side. And this is, you know, part of my advisory board. This is the person that in the beginning of this year, I had to fire another collective of family members. And I already can show you that just in the last 9 to 10 months, this person has done a world of a difference in the advisory board and would bring that to the college. I can only perceive that as a gift from the higher power. So this is the reality of the situation. So if I want to compete with the top 1%, I have to be able to build a company to compete with the top 1%. Because the top 1% is not going to hold any punches back. They are going to come with everything. So you need to anticipate that. How is business changing? I had a quick conversation with one of my clients. His wife is from overseas, from the UK. I mentioned some investments in Hong Kong for real estate. I spoke about a few neighborhoods that I want to rebuild. And this person said, oh, you know, they're always doing construction over there. They're always repurposing and remodeling. And I'm thinking to myself, so this is the filter that you're looking at the potential. You're saying, oh, everybody's always doing that. But what's going to set it apart? What's going to make it different? You're going to make it different. What's going to make the difference? You're going to make the difference. Your perspective has to be different, or you're going to get the same results every other real estate firm and every other investment firm is either enjoying or complaining about. 3 minutes. That was 5 minutes. 5 minutes we'll never get back. We have a 3 minute countdown. Good morning. God bless. You get what I'm saying? You are the secret to my success. You got what I'm trying to say? This is what it comes down to. It's moments like this where you have to make decisions like this, where you have to do things like this in order to process everything in real time. We are a technology company. In a few days, a few weeks, a few months, in a few hours, in a few seconds, technology will be completely different. It will not be the same. And that's just the reality. What can you do? You have to move forward. You cannot get your emotions attached. It does not belong in this realm. Nobody cares about your emotions. And nobody should expect anybody else or anyone else to care about those emotions because in business, there's no room for it. Now, as time progresses, another lockout is in a countdown. How can I allow an empty space to fulfill itself? You have to let the rivers flow and not get carried away by the river. It's hard, it sucks, it's difficult, it's challenging, it's emotionally straining, but it's okay. You're going to be able to get through this process. You're going to be able to conquer these mountains and reach these heights. And that's just the trek underneath the boots that you're going to have to use on your hike and on your mountain walk. It's just part of the equipment, the safety equipment that you can utilize. Doesn't secure success, but it kind of gives you an unfair advantage, especially when you're going up against Mother Nature, right? That should not stop you from trying. Most people will not understand this conversation. It most likely will go over their head, and that it's okay. That is okay. This is not for everybody. The peanut gallery has found their way out a long time ago. But let those that have eyes see me and ears hear me, right? Let those that have invested in their education understand where I'm coming from and apply it to their own personal lives, their own personal businesses, careers, investments, and any combination thereof. Any product, any service, any industry, or any trade. I'm no different than you. I have the same 24 hours in a day that Warren Buffett has and Patrick Bet David. And you're tasked to make a decision every few minutes. So it's the quality and the quantity of those decisions on a day to day, hour by hour, minute by minute, second by second that is going to determine your success or not. I have goals that even if I allow myself to postpone, if I just restructure everything, will be accomplished in the next few months. Now, I don't necessarily have to like that. I already have at least 2 or 3 years that I know that I had to sacrifice the fourth quarter for the greater good of my business. I decided this year I was going to change that. I've been preparing for the last few years to get to a point where I could do that. I have also accepted that it may be different. It may be a different trajectory from my perspective and my standpoint, from what I planned. Now, does that create a buildup to where when I am in a deeper negotiation, I can ask for more money? Statistically, chances are yes, absolutely. So this is part of the process. Why fight it and swim against the current? Because we're human, because we have emotions, because we're triggered by certain things in certain circumstances. I made a mistake. One of my advisors, one of my business partners, one of my confidants is extremely toxic. And I have allowed myself in the last 3 months to be influenced by this person. This person is officially fired, effective immediately, 7/26, October the 10th, 2025. Actually, 7/27. 3 minutes past our original 8-minute goal to make a decision. And now the decision is crystal clear for me, at least for me. I have no dog in that fight. And this particular collective does not belong in my investment portfolio. So I must respect that. I must acknowledge that and I must move forward from that standpoint because now priority me. And the ultimate variable is to overcompensate for what I already understand. It's going to happen. It's going to spiral out of control. It's not going to produce a bigger challenge for the business or the investment or the data points. It's going to create a bigger challenge for me. And maybe that is what I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to persuade myself to evade that. From a military standpoint, I'm going straight to the fire. So I'm already overcompensating for that because that subconscious decision, that's the autopilot. We don't do that. That's not how I function. When I fired Mauricio Ruiz, I meant it 100%. I have not looked back. Shout out to you, Mauricio, because I know you're watching. And God bless you and wish you nothing but the best. I gave you 3 strikes. Should have given you 1. Should have given you 1. I should have known strike 1. That was it. And just look at the difference of everything now. Think about it. Now I've built the strength and the muscle to fire all these other people. And shout out to you, V, because you see that some of these changes have created a sense of neglect in these investments, except that the universe, by the mercy and the grace of God, has given me this new opportunity because it was just announced 72 hours ago or less. 72 hours ago or less. Mind you, even some of the content that we're creating, I'm not putting it out there in a marketing campaign or a blast. The last marketing campaigns we did were Coca-Cola with Sprite, we did Samsung, we did Apple, we did Meta, we did Oakley, we did Ray-Ban, we did Tom Ford, and everything else was Chevrolet. So pretty good on that. And yet, this is day 1. Yet, this is the beginning. I tried to build a base model C8 with the Torini blue interior. For some reason, there's a problem where it was locked out a few days ago. It wasn't until I built the convertible that it let me put it into some of the vehicles that I ordered. Then yesterday, I had to build the E-Ray to get the Torini blue interior. And you already know what I'm going to build today. So I'm already looking forward to that because those are the orders that are going in for clients and customers for the next few weeks. That is my priority. Engineering. Again, speaking to one of my business partners, I said, listen, I'm only part of Team Chevrolet because I want to move up to corporate. I don't know what you guys are trying to be doing or trying to do. I have clear cut path, clear direction. As a matter of fact, I just saw a Waymo Jaguar F-Pace with over 8 cameras because the Tesla system has 8 cameras. So I was doing a product review on Model 3 and Model Y because the base models are in now and they have 8 cameras. And Waymo has way more than that. Radarplex beats it again. 8 years later, my technology is still better. Yet I'm telling my business partners, listen, we should go in this direction. It's going to be the same thing that happened 8 years ago. Oh, you guys not interested? You still didn't learn? All right, here we go for the next 12 years. Radarplex is at a different level. I don't have time to waste with Mauricio Ruiz or the music industry. Shout out to you, Mr. D. Video game system is almost $1,000. A stream is 0.0037 cents. Video game system, one of many verticals, horizontal. I don't have time to fight these small battles anymore. I can give my love, I can give my support, I can give my understanding, I can give my presence, I can give my guidance, I can be a friend, I can be a brother. But that's it. If I want to make the best decision in this situation, I just have to think about Mauricio Ruiz. Mauricio Ruiz will be the next example for the next probably year or so. And this is speaking from a neutral standpoint. This is not me giving you my insights, my feelings, my thoughts, my emotions, my perspective. I'm just speaking the truth. Time is what we don't have. Time is the most valuable asset. This is why I cannot afford to waste one more minute. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Have an amazing day today. May you conquer everything in your path. May everything that you touch turn into solid gold bars and beautiful and precious gemstones, such as moissanite and laboratory-grown diamonds. Always remember to dream big because dreams come true. It happened to me. I know for a fact it's going to happen to you. So we'll regroup at the yacht club. And after the yacht club, we'll take out some of the exotics. I like to drive my cars in the rain. And then I'll be back at the business and we'll face all of the challenges that are sure to come. And I'm going to be implementing and running tests on new systems to see how we can improve things. But everything at its time, because God's timing is perfect. Have an amazing day. And we'll see you on the next one. Once again, shout out to you, Veed. Veed will reconvene for next Wednesday. Mr. J.O. will reconvene for next Wednesday. God bless.